Jake Martinez floated outside the research ship Aurora Dawn, his tools drifting beside him in the cold emptiness of space. The stars looked like tiny diamonds scattered across black cloth. He had been working on the sensor array for 3 hours. Now, fixing the damaged circuits that helped the ship see far into space, the work was boring but important. Without these sensors, the ship would be blind. Jake wiped sweat from his face inside his helmet and reached for another tool. That was when he saw something moving in the distance. At first, he thought it was just space debris. Chunks of rock and metal often drifted past their ship. But this object was moving too smoothly, too purposefully. Jake stopped working and stared at the strange sight approaching them. The thing was huge. As it came closer, Jake could see it was some kind of animal. It looked like a Volf, but it was as big as a small spaceship. Its fur was silver and blue, and it seemed to glow with a soft light. Most amazing of all, it was alive and moving through space without a suit or ship. The creature was carrying something in what looked like a bubble of energy. Jake could see 3 smaller shapes inside the bubble. They were not moving at all. They looked like baby versions of the big Volf, but they were completely still. Jake's heart started beating fast. He had never seen anything like this before. The big Volf was looking right at him with eyes that seemed almost human. There was something in those eyes that made Jake's chest feel tight. The Volf looked desperate and afraid. The creature came closer to the ship. Jake could see that the 3 small wolves inside the energy bubble were not just sleeping. Their bodies were covered in what looked like ice crystals. Their eyes were closed and they were not breathing. Jake realized with shock that they might be dead. The mother Volf made a sound that Jake could somehow hear even in the vacuum of space. It was a low, sad noise that made him think of a mother crying for her children. The sound went straight to his heart. Jake activated his communication device. "Commander Stone, you need to see this," he said, his voice shaking slightly. "What is it, Martinez?" Came the voice of Commander Alex Stone through the radio. "There's a creature out here, a big one. It looks like a Volf, but it's as big as a shuttle. And it's carrying what looks like 3 dead pups." There was silence on the radio for a moment. Then Commander Stone said, "Martinez, are you feeling okay? The radiation out there can sometimes cause hallucinations." "I'm fine, sir. This is real." "The creature is looking right at me. I think it wants help." Jake watched as the Volf creature moved closer to the ship. It was being very careful, moving slowly so as not to frighten anyone. The energy bubble around the 3 small wolves was getting brighter, as if the mother was using more power to keep them protected. "I'm sending a camera drone to your location," Commander Stone said. "Stay where you are and don't make any sudden movements." The small drone arrived a few minutes later. Jake heard Commander Stone take a sharp breath when he saw the creature on his screen. "My God," the commander whispered. "It's real." The mother Volf seemed to understand that more humans were watching her now. She moved even closer to the ship's hull. Then she did something that made Jake's eyes fill with tears. She gently pushed the energy bubble containing her pups toward the ship, toward Jake. Jake could see the pups more clearly now. They were beautiful creatures with fur that was white and silver, but they were definitely not alive. Ice covered their small bodies, and their lips were blue. They looked like they had been frozen solid. The mother Volf looked at Jake and made that sad sound again. This time, Jake was sure he could understand what she was trying to say. She was asking for help. She was begging him to save her babies. Jake had seen that look before. It was the same look his sister had given him when her own baby was sick and she didn't know what to do. It was the look of a mother who would do anything to save her children. "Commander," Jake said softly, "I think she wants us to help her pups." "Martinez, those creatures are clearly dead. There's nothing we can do." But Jake was not convinced. He had worked with frozen systems before. Sometimes things that looked dead could be brought back to life if you knew how to do it right. Maybe the pups were not dead. Maybe they were just frozen. Like the ship's systems sometimes got frozen in space. The mother Volf was still pushing the energy bubble toward Jake. She was making soft, whimpering sounds now, like a dog begging for food. But she was not begging for food. She was begging for her children's lives. Jake made a decision. He reached out with his gloved hand and touched the energy bubble. It felt warm and tingly, like touching a low-power electrical field. The mother Volf's eyes widened, and she made a sound that might have been hope. "Martinez, what are you doing?" Commander Stone's voice was sharp with worry. "I'm going to bring them inside," Jake said. "If there's any chance those pups are still alive, we have to try to save them." The mother Volf seemed to understand Jake's words. She moved the energy bubble closer to the ship's airlock. Jake could see that she was tired. Her glowing fur was dimmer now, and she was breathing hard. She had probably traveled a very long way to find them. Jake began moving toward the airlock, guiding the energy bubble with him. The mother Volf followed, staying close to her babies. As they moved, Jake noticed that the pups inside the bubble were beautiful, even in their frozen state. They had small, perfect faces and tiny paws. They looked so much like puppies that Jake's heart ached for them. When they reached the airlock, Jake looked back at the mother Volf. She was watching him, with those intelligent, desperate eyes. Jake nodded to her, trying to show that he understood. He was going to do everything he could to save her babies. The mother Volf touched the side of the ship with one massive paw. Jake felt a strange tingling in his mind, like someone was trying to talk to him without words. The feeling was warm and grateful and full of hope. Jake activated the airlock and prepared to bring the frozen pups inside. He did not know if he could save them, but he was going to try. Something told him that this moment would change everything for him and his crew. The mother Volf had chosen them for a reason, and Jake was determined not to let her down. Jake floated through the airlock with the energy bubble containing the 3 frozen pups. The bubble felt strange against his gloves, warm and electric. Behind him, through the thick glass of the airlock window, he could see the mother Volf waiting. In space, her silver and blue fur was still glowing, but not as bright as before. She looked exhausted. Commander Alex Stone was waiting in the airlock chamber with 2 security officers. He was a tall man with gray hair and serious eyes. When he saw the energy bubble, his mouth dropped open. "Jesus Christ, Martinez," he whispered. "They're real." Inside the bubble, the 3 pups looked like they were sleeping, but Jake knew they were not. Ice crystals covered their fur, and their small bodies were completely still. No breath came from their tiny noses. Their lips were blue like frozen blueberries. "We need to get them to medical right away," Jake said. "If there's any chance they're still alive, we're running out of time." Commander Stone nodded. "Dr. Grant is already preparing the medical bay? But Jake, I have to ask, are you sure about this? We don't know anything about these creatures. They could be dangerous." Jake looked at the pups through the energy bubble. They were so small and helpless. "Look at them, Commander. They're just babies. Their mother brought them to us for help. She could have attacked us, but she didn't. She's asking us to save them." The ship's doctor, Lisa Grant, arrived with her medical team. She was a woman in her 40s with kind eyes and steady hands. She had saved many lives during her time on the Aurora Dawn. When she saw the frozen pups, her expression became very serious. "Bring them to medical bay too," she said. "It's our largest room. We'll need space to work." They moved quickly through the ship's corridors. Other crew members stopped to stare as they passed. Word was spreading fast that aliens were on board. Some crew members looked scared, others looked curious. Jake heard whispers following them. In the medical bay, Dr. Grant immediately began examining the pups through the energy bubble. She used her scanners to check their vital signs. The machines beeped and made strange noises as they tried to read the alien biology. "This is fascinating," Dr. Grant said, studying the readings. "Their body temperature is far below anything. That should be compatible with life. But there's something else. The scanners are picking up very faint electrical activity in their brains." Jake felt his heart jump. "Does that mean they're alive?" "Maybe, but barely. It's like their bodies have shut down completely to survive the cold. Their metabolism has stopped almost entirely." Dr. Grant frowned at her instruments. "But I've never seen anything like this. How do we warm them up without killing them?" Katie Walsh, the ship's chief engineer, had joined them. She was a young woman with red hair and grease-stained hands. She was always fixing things around the ship. She looked at the energy bubble with interest. That energy field they're in, Katie said. It's not just keeping them contained. It's keeping them at an exact temperature. 1 degree warmer or cooler and it changes. The mother Volf is controlling it somehow. Dr. Grant nodded. The mother knows what temperature keeps them stable, but we need to figure out how to bring them back to life. Jake watched the doctor work. She was trying different approaches, but nothing seemed to work. The pups remained frozen and still. Jake felt helpless. He wanted to do something, but he was just a technician. He fixed machines, not living things. Doctor, Jake said quietly, what if we're thinking about this wrong? What if their bodies aren't broken? What if they're just waiting? Waiting for what? Dr. Grant asked. For the right conditions to restart? Like when a machine gets too cold and shuts down, you don't just heat it up fast. You have to warm it slowly and give it power gradually. Dr. Grant looked at Jake with new respect. That's actually not a bad idea. But their biology is completely alien. We don't know what the right conditions are for them. Katie stepped forward. What if we ask the mother? She's been keeping them alive this long. She might know what they need. Commander Stone shook his head. How do we communicate with her? She's an alien Volf the size of a shuttle. She was trying to communicate with me outside, Jake said. I felt something in my mind when she touched the ship. Maybe she can understand us better than we think. Dr. Grant made a decision. Let's try it. Jake, you seem to have the strongest connection with her. Can you go back and try to find out what we need to do? Jake nodded. He felt responsible for the pups now. He had promised their mother he would help, and he was not going to give up. Back in the airlock, Jake could see the mother Volf still waiting outside. She had not moved from her position near the ship. When she saw Jake return, her eyes brightened with hope. Jake activated the external communicator. We have your babies inside, he said, not knowing if she could understand him. We want to help them, but we need to know what they need. The mother Volf moved closer to the ship. She placed her massive paw against the hull, right where Jake was standing. Immediately, Jake felt that strange tingling in his mind again. But this time, it was stronger. Images began to form in Jake's head. He saw the ice moon where the wolves lived. He saw the terrible storm that had frozen the pups. He saw the mother Volf carrying her babies across space, looking for help. And he saw something else. He saw what the pups needed to survive. Warmth, Jake whispered. But not just heat. They need life warmth, the warmth that comes from living things. The images in his mind became clearer. The mother Volf was showing him how her people helped frozen pack members. They surrounded them with their bodies, sharing their life energy and warmth. But she was alone, and her babies were too cold for her to warm by herself. Jake understood. The pups needed more than just heat. They needed the touch of living beings, the electrical energy that comes from a beating heart, the biofield that surrounds every living thing. She's showing me, Jake said into his radio. They need direct contact with living beings. Body heat and bioelectrical fields. Dr. Grant's voice came through the speaker. That's impossible. We can't risk direct contact with unknown alien physiology. But Jake was already making his decision. The mother Volf's desperate love for her babies was overwhelming him through their mental connection. He felt her pain and her hope. He felt her trust in him. Doctor, Jake said, I'm going to try something. These babies need life to restart their own life. And sometimes you have to take risks to save someone. The mother Volf seemed to understand his words. She pressed her paw harder against the ship's hull, and Jake felt a wave of gratitude wash over him. She was giving him permission to do whatever it took to save her children. Jake headed back to the medical bay, knowing that the hardest part was just beginning. Jake returned to the medical bay with his mind full of images from the mother Volf. Dr. Grant and her team were still studying the frozen pups, but their machines could not tell them how to bring the babies back to life. What did you learn? Dr. Grant asked when Jake walked in. They need body heat, Jake said. not just warmth from a machine. They need the heat and energy from living beings. The mother showed me how her people save frozen pack members. They surround them with their bodies. Dr. Grant looked worried. Jake, we can't just hold unknown alien creatures. We don't know what diseases they might carry. We don't know if touching them is safe, but we have to try, Jake said. Their mother traveled across the galaxy to find us. She believes we can help them. Commander Stone had been listening from the doorway. It's too dangerous. We can't risk the entire crew for 3 alien animals. Jake felt anger rise in his chest. They're not just animals. They're children, someone's babies. And their mother is out there waiting for us to save them? Katie Walsh spoke up from where she was studying the energy bubble. Actually, Commander, Jake might be right. Look at these readings. The energy field around them is getting weaker. The Mother Volf is using her own life force to keep them stable. If we don't do something soon, they'll all die. Dr. Grant ran her hands through her hair. She was thinking hard. Even if we wanted to try direct contact, we don't know how alien biology works. What if we make them worse? What if we don't try and they die anyway? Jake asked. At least if we try, we give them a chance. Tony Rodriguez, one of the medical assistants, stepped forward. He was a young man with kind eyes who had joined the crew 6 months ago. I'll help, he said quietly. If Jake thinks this is the right thing to do, I'll help. Dr. Grant looked at Tony with surprise. Tony, you could be risking your life. People risk their lives to save others all the time, Tony said. That's what makes us human. Amy Chen, the ship's biologist, had been quietly watching the pups. She was a small woman with very smart eyes. I've been studying the scans, she said. Their biology is similar to mammals from Earth. I think direct contact might actually be safe. Dr. Grant sighed. This is against all medical protocols, but ... She looked at the frozen pups. Sometimes you have to break the rules to save lives. Jake felt relief wash over him. So we'll try it? We'll try it, Dr. Grant said. But we do this carefully. We monitor everything. If there's any sign of danger, we stop immediately. The medical team began preparing. They set up monitors to watch the pups' vital signs. They prepared emergency equipment in case something went wrong. Amy Chen studied the alien biology reports to understand what they were dealing with. Katie Walsh figured out how to safely remove the pups from the energy bubble. The field is controlled by the mother's thoughts, she explained, but I can create a similar field with our equipment. We can keep them stable while we work. Jake put on medical gloves and prepared to be the first person to touch the alien. Pups. His heart was beating fast, but he was not afraid. He was excited. This felt like the most important thing he had ever done. The first pup was the smallest one. Jake carefully lifted it out of the energy field. It was heavier than he expected, but soft and warm to the touch. The pup's fur was beautiful, like silver silk. But the little creature was completely still. Body temperature is -20 degrees, Dr. Grant said, watching her instruments. Heart rate is almost 0, but there's still brain activity. Jake held the pup against his chest. Through his medical suit, he could feel the cold coming from the small body. But he also felt something else, a tiny spark of life like a candle flame in the wind. I can feel it, Jake whispered. It's still alive. In there, Tony Rodriguez took the second pup. It was slightly bigger than the first, with darker fur. Like Jake, he held it close to his body, sharing his warmth. Amy Chun took the third pup. This one was the biggest, but it seemed to be in the worst condition. Its fur was almost white from ice crystals, and it felt colder than the others. For the first hour, nothing happened. The pups remained frozen and still. Dr. Grant monitored their vital signs constantly. The readings stayed the same, very cold, very slow heartbeat. But still alive? Maybe this isn't working, Commander Stone said. He had been watching from the corner of the room. Give it time, Jake said. The Mother Volf showed me this process takes patience. After 2 hours, something small changed. The pup in Jake's arms seemed to get slightly warmer. Not much, but enough that the monitors noticed. Body temperature is rising, Dr. Grant said with excitement. Only 1 degree, but it's rising. Jake felt hope grow in his chest. He held the pup closer and started talking to it softly. Come on, little one. Your mama is waiting for you. She loves you so much, she brought you all this way to find help. Tony and Amy began talking to their pups, too. They spoke about their own families, their hopes, their love for all living things. As they talked, something amazing happened. The pups' vital signs began to improve. This is incredible, Amy said. Their bodies are responding to our emotions. When we feel love and hope, their life signs get stronger. Dr. Grant was studying the monitors with wonder. It's like they can sense our feelings. The warmer our emotions, the warmer they get. Jake understood. The mother Wolf had not just shown him that the pups needed body heat. She had shown him they needed love. They needed someone to care about them, to want them to live. That's why she brought them to us, Jake said. Humans don't just save lives with medicine and machines. We save lives with our hearts. The 3 crew members continued holding the pups, sharing their warmth and their love. Slowly, very slowly, the little creatures began to respond. Their breathing became deeper. Their hearts beat stronger. The ice crystals in their fur began to melt. After 4 hours, the smallest pup opened its eyes. They were beautiful eyes like liquid silver. The pup looked up at Jake and made a tiny sound like a baby bird calling for its mother. Jake felt tears on his cheeks. Hello there, he whispered. Welcome back to life. Outside the ship, the mother Wolf was still waiting. But now she was not alone. Other crew members had gathered to watch through the windows. They could see her pacing back and forth, anxious for news about her babies. Someone should tell her, Jake said. She needs to know that her babies are coming back to life. But as Jake spoke, he felt that familiar tingling in his mind. The mother Wolf already knew. Through some mysterious connection, she could sense that her children were getting better. Her glow became brighter, and she pressed her face against the ship's hull. Jake knew that this was just the beginning. The pups were alive, but they were still very weak. It would take time and care to make them fully healthy again. But for the first time since this adventure began, Jake was confident they would succeed. Humans had something special. They had the power to bring hope where there was none. They had the power to love creatures they had never seen before. And, sometimes that love was enough to bring the dead back to life. The first pup to wake up was the smallest one. Jake held it carefully as it looked around the medical bay with confused silver eyes. The little creature made soft sounds like a puppy calling for its mother. Its fur was no longer frozen, and Jake could feel warmth spreading through its small body. How do you feel, little one? Jake whispered. The pup turned its head toward his voice and made a small chirping sound. Then it did something amazing. It licked Jake's hand with a tiny pink tongue. Dr. Grant was watching the monitors with excitement. Heart rate is normal. Temperature is stable. Brain activity is strong. This is a complete recovery. Tony Rodriguez was still holding the second pup. It was starting to stir in his arms. Its eyes fluttered open, revealing beautiful blue irises that seemed to shine with their own light. This pup was slightly bigger than the first, with darker fur that looked like storm clouds. Mine's waking up too, Tony said with a big smile. The second pup stretched its small legs and yawned, showing tiny white teeth. It looked up at Tony and made a happy sound like a cat purring. Amy Chun was still working with the third pup. This one was taking longer to wake up. It was the biggest of the 3, but it had been frozen the longest. Its fur was almost completely white, and it felt heavier than the others. Come on, sweetie, Amy said softly. Your brothers are awake? It's time for you to wake up too? The third pup's eyes opened slowly. They were different from the others. One eye was silver like the first pup, and the other was blue like the second. But there was something else in those eyes. Intelligence? This pup looked at Amy like it was trying to understand everything around it. This one is different, Amy said. Look at how it's studying everything. The third pup tried to sit up in Amy's arms. It was still weak, but it was determined. It looked at each person in the room, then at its brothers, then back at the humans. It made a sound that was different from the others, deeper and more complex. "It's trying to communicate," Dr. Grant said. "The brain scans show unusual activity in the language centers." Jake felt that familiar tingling in his mind. But this time it was not coming from the mother Volf outside. It was coming from the third pup. The little creature was trying to talk to him with its thoughts. "I can hear it," Jake said with wonder. "It's saying thank you in my mind." The other crew members looked at Jake with surprise. "You can understand it?" Tony asked. "Not words exactly, but I can feel what it means. It's grateful. It knows we saved its life." Sam Parker, the communications officer, had been watching from the doorway. He was a thin man with glasses who was very good with languages. "This is incredible. We might be dealing with a telepathic species." The first pup was getting stronger by the minute. It was now sitting up in Jake's arms and looking around with curiosity. It seemed fascinated by the medical equipment and the bright lights. When it saw its brothers, it made excited sounds and tried to reach for them. "They want to be together," Jake said. "Can we put them in the same area?" Dr. Grant nodded. "I think that would be good for them. Family contact might help them recover faster." They carefully placed all three pups together on a soft medical bed. The moment they touched each other, something beautiful happened. They began to glow with a soft light, just like their mother. The glow was warm and comforting, and it made everyone in the room feel peaceful. "They're sharing energy," Katie Walsh said, studying her instruments. "When they touch, their life signs get stronger." The three pups curled up together like normal puppies might. But they were clearly not normal. Their fur sparkled with tiny lights, and their eyes held intelligence that seemed almost human. The third pup, the one with different colored eyes, lifted its head and looked directly at Jake. Then it did something that made everyone in the room gasp. It spoke. "Thank you," it said in a small, clear voice. "You saved us." The room fell completely silent. Everyone stared at the pup in shock. It had spoken in perfect English with the voice of a young child. "Did that pup just talk?" Commander Stone asked from the doorway. "Mama told us about humans," the pup continued. "She said you were the helpers, the ones who could wake us up." Jake knelt down next to the bed. "You can really talk?" "Yes," the pup said. "I am learning your words from your mind. My brothers will learn soon too." The first pup, the smallest one, looked at Jake and said, "Jake, your name is Jake." Its voice was even smaller than the third pup's, like a tiny bell. The second pup looked at Tony and said, "Tony, you are warm inside." "Thank you, Tony, Doctor." Grant was frantically checking her instruments. "This is impossible. They've only been awake for a few minutes. How can they already speak our language?" The third pup answered her question. "We learn fast when we are loved. Love makes our minds grow." "What are your names?" Amy asked gently. The third pup thought for a moment. "I am Frost. My brothers are Snow and Ice. Mama named us for the storm that froze us." Jake felt his heart fill with warmth. These were not just alien creatures. They were children with names and thoughts and feelings. "It's nice to meet you, Frost. I'm Jake." "We know," Frost said. "We felt your heart when you held us. You wanted us to live. That made us strong." Outside the ship, the mother Volf was still waiting, but now she was moving differently. She was not pacing with worry anymore. She was dancing with joy. Somehow, she knew her babies were awake and safe. "We should let her see them," Jake said. "She's been waiting so long." Dr. Grant was about to say it was too dangerous, but Frost spoke first. "Mama needs to see us. She has been scared. We must show her we are alive." The three pups stood up on the medical bed. They were still wobbly, but they were determined. They held onto each other for support and looked at the humans with trust. "Please," Snow said in his tiny voice. "Take us to Mama." Ice, the second pup, nodded. "Mama loves us. She will be so happy." Jake looked at Dr. Grant. "Can we do it? Can we take them to see their mother?" Dr. Grant thought for a moment. "It's risky. But these pups have been through so much. They deserve to see their mother." Commander Stone stepped forward. "We'll do it safely. Full protective gear." "Limited contact time?" The three pups began to glow brighter with excitement. "Mama," they all said together. "We want to see Mama." Jake picked up Frost while Tony and Amy took Snow and Ice. The pups were getting stronger every minute. They were alert and curious, looking at everything they passed as they walked through the ship. Other crew members had gathered in the corridors to see the alien pups. Everyone was amazed at how beautiful and intelligent they were. The pups waved at the humans with their tiny paws and said hello in their sweet voices. "They're amazing," one crew member whispered. "They're just like children," another said. When they reached the airlock, the pups could sense their mother nearby. They began to make excited sounds and glow even brighter. Through the thick glass, they could see the massive form of their mother floating in space. The mother Volf saw her babies and let out a sound of pure joy that somehow reached them even through the vacuum of space. She pressed her face against the glass and her whole body glowed with happiness. "Mama," the three pups called out together. "Mama, we're alive!" The reunion was emotional for everyone watching. The mother Volf was crying tears of joy, and her babies were crying too. Even the hardened space crew had tears in their eyes. Jake realized that they had done something truly special. They had not just saved 3 lives, they had kept a family together. And, in doing so, they had discovered something incredible about both their species and themselves. Over the next 3 days, the pups grew stronger and more amazing. They learned new words every hour and could soon speak as well as human children. They were curious about everything on the ship and asked countless questions about how things worked. Frost, the pup with different colored eyes, was especially smart. He could understand complex ideas and even helped Katie Walsh fix a broken computer by pointing out which wires were wrong. Snow, the smallest pup, had a gift for making people feel happy just by being near him. Ice, the middle pup, could sense when people were sad or worried and would try to comfort them, but something was happening to Frost that worried everyone. He was not eating well and seemed to be getting weaker instead of stronger. Dr. Grant ran many tests, but she could not find anything wrong with him. "His body chemistry is different from his brother's," Dr. Grant told Jake. "Something in his blood is not normal." In his species, this condition would probably be fatal. Jake felt scared. They had worked so hard to save the pups. He could not bear the thought of losing Frost now. "Is there anything we can do?" Jake asked. "I don't know," Dr. Grant said sadly. "This is alien biology. I'm not sure our medicine can help him." Frost seemed to understand what they were talking about. He was lying on the medical bed, looking tired and weak. But when he saw Jake's worried face, he tried to smile. "It's okay, Jake," Frost said in his small voice. "Some wolves are born different. Mama told us stories about pups like me. We don't live very long." "Don't say that," Jake said, sitting next to the bed. "We're going to find a way to help you." Snow and Ice were staying close to their brother. They were sharing their energy with him, making their fur glow brighter to give him strength. But it was not enough. That evening, Amy Chun made an incredible discovery. She was studying blood samples from all 3 pups when she noticed something strange. "Dr. Grant, you need to see this," Amy called excitedly. Dr. Grant hurried over to Amy's workstation. "What is it?" "Look at Frost's blood cells under the microscope. They're changing." Dr. Grant looked through the microscope and gasped. Frost's blood cells were different from his brother's. They were larger and more complex, with structures that should not exist in any known biology. "This is impossible," Dr. Grant whispered. "His cells are evolving while we watch." "That's not all," Amy said. "The evolution seems to be triggered by something. Look at this data from when Jake was holding him during the revival process." Amy showed Dr. Grant a chart on her computer screen. "See this spike in cellular activity? It happened exactly when Jake was talking to Frost about hope and love. The human emotional connection seems to be activating dormant genetic sequences." Dr. Grant stared at the data in amazement. "Are you saying that human contact is causing genetic evolution in these creatures?" "That's exactly what I'm saying. The revival process didn't just save them. It awakened something in their DNA that was sleeping." Jake had been listening from the doorway. What does this mean for Frost? I think, Amy said carefully, that Frost is becoming something new, something his species has never seen before. But his body is having trouble with the change. Dr. Grant thought for a moment. What if we increase the human contact? If human, emotional energy is triggering this evolution, maybe more of it will help him adapt. Jake did not hesitate. I'll stay with him. As long as it takes. Over the next day, Jake rarely left Frost's side. He talked to the young pup about Earth, about human history, about dreams and hopes and all the good things in the universe. Other crew members took turns visiting too. Tony told Frost funny stories that made him laugh. Amy shared her knowledge about biology and science. Even Commander Stone came by to tell Frost about the adventures they had experienced in space. Each time a human spent time with Frost, his condition improved a little. The other pups, Snow and Ice, were fascinated by what was happening to their brother. Frost is becoming special, Snow said to Jake. He can do things we cannot do. What kind of things? Jake asked. Ice answered. He can understand the big machines. On your ship, he knows how they think. As if to prove his brother's words, Frost suddenly sat up in bed. His eyes were brighter than before, and he looked more alert. Jake, Frost said, your ship's navigation computer has an error in its memory. Core. Section 7, Level 3. Katie should check it before you make your next long jump. Jake stared at Frost in shock. The pup had never seen the navigation computer. He had never even been to that part of the ship. How do you know that? Jake asked. I can feel it, Frost said simply. I can feel all the machines on the ship. They talk to me in my mind. Jake immediately called Katie Walsh. When she checked the navigation computer, she found exactly what Frost had described. There was indeed an error that could have caused serious problems during their next hyperspace jump. This is incredible, Katie said when she came to see Frost. How did you know about that error? The computer was worried, Frost explained. It knew something was wrong but could not tell anyone, so it told me. Dr. Grant was taking notes frantically. Frost seems to be developing a form of technological telepathy. He can communicate directly with electronic systems. Amy was studying new blood samples from Frost. His brain is changing too. New neural pathways are forming. Areas that don't exist in normal mammalian brains. Is this good or bad? Jake asked, worried. I think it's wonderful, Dr. Grant said. Frost is becoming a bridge between biological and technological consciousness. He might be the first of a completely new kind of life form. Outside the ship, the mother Volf had been watching through the windows. She seemed to understand that something important was happening to her son. When Sam Parker finally managed to establish better communication with her, she shared something amazing. She says this is what her people have been waiting for, Sam told the group. She calls humans the Awakeners, according to her. There are old stories about beings who would come from the stars and help her people become more than they were. You mean this was prophesied? Commander Stone asked. In a way. She says her people have carried dormant genetic potential for thousands of years, but they needed contact with a species that had strong emotional telepathy to awaken it. Jake looked at Frost, who was now sitting up and playing with a small electronic device that he had somehow reprogrammed to make music. So humans are the key to unlocking their evolution? Jake asked. It appears so, Sam said. And they've been searching the galaxy for us. Frost looked up from his musical device. Mama says there are many species like us, all waiting for the Awakeners to find them. You humans have a special gift. You make others become more than they thought they could be. Snow and Ice were listening to their brother with wide eyes. Will we become special too? Snow asked. You already are special, Jake said, hugging the smallest pup. All of you are. But Frost shook his head. My brothers are perfect as they are, but I was born broken. The human touch fixed what was broken and made me into something new. Dr. Grant was reviewing all her data. The implications of this are staggering. If humans can trigger evolutionary leaps in other species, we might be the most important species in the galaxy. Not important, Frost corrected gently. helpful, humans help others grow. That is your gift to the universe. Jake felt a deep sense of wonder. They had thought they were just saving 3 frozen pups. Instead, they had discovered humanity's true purpose among the stars. They were not meant to conquer or rule. They were meant to help other species reach their full potential. As if reading his thoughts, Frost smiled and said, "Now you understand why Mama brought us to you. This was always meant to happen. We were meant to find each other." The little pup's eyes glowed with intelligence and kindness, and Jake knew that everything in the galaxy had just changed forever. 2 weeks had passed since the pups first woke up. Frost was now completely healthy and had developed amazing abilities. He could talk to any machine on the ship and fix problems that even Katie Walsh could not solve. Snow had grown stronger, too, and could make plants grow faster just by touching them. Ice had learned to sense the emotions of everyone on the ship and could calm people who were upset or afraid. The time had come for the Volf family to return home. The mother Volf, who they now knew was named Silver Moon, was eager to share the news of what had happened with her people. But saying goodbye was going to be very hard. "I don't want you to go," Jake said to the 3 pups as they prepared to leave. They were sitting together in the cargo bay where Silver Moon could see them through the large windows. "We don't want to go either," Snow said sadly. "But we must tell our people about the humans. We must tell them that the Awakeners have been found." Frost put his small paw on Jake's hand. "This is not goodbye forever, Jake. This is the beginning of something wonderful." Dr. Grant had prepared detailed reports about everything that had happened. The data about human-triggered evolution would change how humanity saw itself in the universe. Commander Stone was already preparing to send messages to Earth Command about their discoveries. "Your people need to know what you can do, Silver," Moon said through the translation device Sam Parker had built. Her voice was deep and warm like a mother singing a lullaby. "There are many species in the galaxy who need awakening. Many who have been waiting for you." Jake felt both proud and overwhelmed. "How will we know where to find them?" "They will find you," Silver Moon said. "Word travels fast among the stars. Already 17 different species I've heard about. What happened here? They are sending messages to your Earth, asking for help." Commander Stone looked surprised. 17 species? How do they know already?" Frost giggled, which sounded like tiny bells ringing. "Space is not as big as you think when you know how to listen. My mama sent word to the Council of Worlds the moment we woke up." Amy Chung was fascinated. "There's a Council of Worlds? How many species are part of it?" "Hundreds," I said, "but most of them are stuck. They cannot grow beyond what they are now. They need human touch to become complete." Snow bounced excitedly. "Some species can live forever but cannot feel love. Some can travel faster than light but cannot create art. Some can read minds but cannot dream. Humans help them learn these things." Jake was beginning to understand the enormous responsibility that humanity was being given. "This is why Earth has been so isolated, isn't it? You were all waiting for us to be ready." Silver Moon nodded her massive head. "Your species needed time to learn compassion, to understand that strength comes from helping others, not hurting them. Now you are ready." The 3 pups were glowing brighter as they got excited about the future. Frost spoke up in his clear, intelligent voice. "Jake, Silver Moon wants to make you and your crew part of our pack." "It is a great honor." "What does that mean?" Jake asked. "It means you are family now," Snow explained. "Forever and always. When you need help, we will come. When we need help, you will come." Silver Moon approached the cargo bay window. She placed her huge paw against the glass, and all 3 pups put their small paws next to hers. Then she looked directly at Jake. "Place your hand against the glass," she said through the translator. Jake put his hand on the glass where Silver Moon's paw was. Immediately, he felt that familiar warm tingling in his mind. But this time, it was much stronger. Images filled his head, not just from Silver Moon, but from hundreds of other alien minds across the galaxy. He saw species that looked like living crystals, waiting to learn how to laugh. He saw creatures made of pure energy, desperate to understand what it meant to touch someone you love. He saw beings that could control gravity, but had never experienced the joy of music. All of them were waiting for humans to help them grow. Do you accept this responsibility? Silver Moon asked in Jake's mind. Jake looked around at his crew. Dr. Grant nodded encouragingly. Tony and Amy were smiling with tears in their eyes. Katie was practically bouncing with excitement about all the new technology they might discover. Even Commander Stone looked proud and ready for the challenge. "We accept," Jake said aloud. The moment he said those words, something amazing happened. Jake felt a connection form in his mind, not just to Silver Moon and her pups, but to countless other beings across the stars. He could sense their hopes, their dreams, their need for the special gift that humans possessed. The three pups began to glow so brightly that everyone had to shield their eyes. When the light faded, each pup had a small mark on their forehead that looked like a star. "The bond is complete," Silver Moon said. "You are packed now, family across the stars." Frost walked up to Jake and touched his hand one more time. Suddenly, Jake felt a new presence in his mind, not taking control, but offering help. "I will always be with you," Frost said. "Whenever you need to understand alien technology, I will help you." "That is my gift to the pack," Snow touched Tony's hand. "I will help you heal any living thing," he said. "Plants, animals, even people." "That is my gift," Ice touched Amy's hand. "I will help you understand the feelings of any species you meet," he said. "No matter how different they seem, that is my gift." Dr. Grant was studying readings from her medical scanner. "Incredible, the neural patterns in your brains have changed. You now have permanent connections to the pups' consciousness." Jake could feel it. Even though the pups would be leaving, part of them would always be with the human crew. And part of the humans would always be with the Volf pack. Silver Moon began to move away from the ship, her three pups floating beside her in a new energy bubble. But this time, the pups were awake and waving goodbye with their small paws. "Thank you," Silver Moon called through space. "You have given my children new life and new purpose. The galaxy will remember what you have done." As the Volf family disappeared into the stars, Commander Stone received an urgent message from Earth Command. Jake listened as the commander read it aloud. "This is Admiral Johnson at Earth Command. We have received first contact requests from 17 alien species in the past hour. They are all asking specifically for teams that include Jake Martinez and his crew." "What the hell happened out there?" Jake smiled as he looked out at the stars. "We found our purpose, Admiral. Humanity isn't meant to conquer the galaxy, we're meant to help it grow." Over the following months, the Aurora Dawn became the first ship in a new human fleet dedicated to helping alien species reach their full potential. Jake and his crew traveled from world to world, using their unique gifts to awaken dormant abilities in dozens of different species. Some aliens learned to create beautiful art for the first time. Others discovered the joy of laughter or the comfort of friendship. A few even learned to love, which transformed their entire civilizations, and wherever they went, Jake could feel Frost's presence in his mind, helping him understand alien technology. He could sense Snow's gentle spirit guiding his healing work. He could feel Ice's empathy helping him connect with beings who seemed completely foreign. The three Volf pups had grown up to become leaders of their own exploration teams, working alongside humans to spread awakening throughout the galaxy. The bond between their species had become a model that other alliances tried to copy. Jake often thought about that first moment when he saw Silver Moon carrying her frozen pups through space. She had made a desperate gamble, traveling across the stars to find help for her children. But in saving her babies, humans had discovered their true calling among the stars. They were not warriors or conquerors. They were healers, teachers, and friends. They were the species that helped others become everything they were meant to be. And that, Jake realized, was the greatest gift any species could give to the universe. The Mongovolf had brought her frozen pups to a human technician for desperate help. What happened next was indeed incredible. It changed the fate of every species in the galaxy, and gave humanity a purpose greater than they had ever imagined.